105 FM in Victoria. The move to ban kitchen scraps from the region's landfill site is not exactly going the way it was originally planned. The only commercial composting facility in the CRD has lost its license to operate. Foundation Organics was the subject of a flood of complaints about odor and litter from dozens of neighbours. Now the Capital Regional District is debating whether to barge tons of food scraps over to the mainland for composting or to just dump it at the Heartland landfill. But the creator of a new Facebook page is hoping to drum up support to give Foundation Organics another chance at the job. Brenda Jordison is behind the Facebook page Foundation Organics Deserves Kitchen Scraps, and she joins me in studio this morning. Brenda, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
So what prompted you to launch this Facebook page?
Well, I just thought a lot of Greater Victorians don't know about Foundation Organics, and they don't know that they have the ability to process these scraps. And I think it's worth bringing awareness to the unfair treatment that they have been given in the past.
And before we talk about the treatment, can you tell us what's your connection with Foundation Organics?
Yeah, I am friends and family members of people who work at and own Foundation Organics. And I've just become passionate about this.
Okay, so you've had a chance to see from the inside, sort of, what they do and,
just
what
last
they're about.
Month. Yep.
Now, the company lost its license to operate and its contract to receive the region's kitchen scraps after dozens of complaints from neighbours. Why do you think the Capital Region should reverse the decision based on those neighbours' complaints?
Well, those neighbours' complaints, in my opinion, are quite controversial. There's a number of facilities in Central Saanich that are composting and generating odors of their own. And Foundation Organics is the only facility that is under such scrutiny and being blamed for these odors.
Now, the neighbours were quick to point out that they moved into a rural area. They were used to farm smells for many years. But this, they said, was above and beyond. We heard that from the mayor of Central Saanich as well, and other observers who said, whoa, this is actually a lot stinkier than just a regular farm. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that in the beginning of any composting operation, they have some trial and errors they need to run. Foundation Organics has implemented changes that were advised to them by a world-class expert, Dr. John Paul, and they have implemented those changes and were never given a shot at seeing the effect of those changes.
And did implementing those changes, was there any kind of measured reduction in odor and so on? Or you're saying they didn't, it wasn't time to measure it?
No, I don't think that Foundation Organics was measuring their odor. I think it's just, they know, Dr. Paul said you need to do these things. We know these are proven effects at reducing odor, and so that's what they've gone ahead and done.
Okay, so under what scenario could you imagine Foundation Organics winning back the right to operate and compost the region's kitchen scraps? How would you imagine this happening if it did?
Well, there's more to it than just the region's kitchen scraps. There's also restaurants and other private contracts that have a lot of waste. Foundations was processing waste from private facilities without the CRD until the suspension came in. And there is a lot of legislation and unknown that whether Foundations even needs a recycler's license to accept scraps. There's the ALC has a regulation that states that you cannot prohibit a farm from composting if it's for farm use. So it's really unclear whether they actually need this recycler's license or not.
Now, would the region argue that it wouldn't all be for farm use if they're taking all the kitchen scraps from the CRD? They're obviously going to be turning a lot of it into compost and selling it rather than using it on the farm?
No, they're not allowed to sell the compost they create from off-site produced materials.
Oh, it was all for the farm itself? Yeah,
they have, at least 80 hectares of their own land, and they also lease land within the municipality that they put the compost on.
So if it's not at all clear, are you suggesting they might appeal it, or they might start consider getting back into business?
They are looking at these regulations, and they are trying to figure out if they even need this recycler's license.
Okay, so that wouldn't win them back. They couldn't win back in and of themselves the CRD kitchen scrap contract, but they're hoping that maybe just of their own accord they can start taking restaurants and
this is
companies and so on.
Affecting their farming operation. Greatly.
What do you make of the whole? I mean, the real question here was odor. I mean, and there can be a debate about how much it or how stinky it was, to put it indelicately. But I mean, what would you suggest the CRD should do in terms of giving Foundation Organics a second chance? How could they give Foundation Organics a second chance without repeating the whole odor problem?
Well, the whole odor problem is still carrying on to this day. I actually had the privilege of looking over odor complaints from March 23rd, or from February 23rd to March 1st. There was 26 complaints in 1 week. Foundations is not doing anything. They are not doing anything. Down 500 meters down the road, you have a farm harvesting, growing, and composting yard waste, their vegetative waste from their fields, from Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage. Nobody is looking at them as an odor problem. It is all being blamed on Foundations. This week, they are not doing anything.
What response have you had to your campaign, your Facebook page so far?
Quite a very good response. We've had residents of the area commenting on how they think that this situation has been unfair. We have many people in the disposal industry commenting. It's been very positive. 213 likes in a week.
Have you heard from anyone at the CRD or Central Saanich municipality?
Oh, no. No, I don't anticipate to.
But the ones that I've spoken to in the past have compared Foundation Organics to other places. I mean, they're considering Richmond, of course, across the street. They mention Fisher Road Recycling, Cobble Hill, where it's going in the meantime. Facilities, they say, that have done a lot more to keep the smell at bay. They've made big investments and done a lot to contain the smell. Do they have a point that if Foundation Organics had done some of these things to begin with, they wouldn't it wouldn't have lost the contract?
Possibly, but Foundation Organics was working with the ALC, with the CRD, with the Ministry of Environment. They were meeting all these regulations. So what happens if Foundation Organics doesn't get the opportunity to handle kitchen scraps again? What do you think will be the consequences for Foundation Organics? Well, the consequences right now with the suspension and the stop work order and all of that are this farm has to bring in a lot of materials, purchase them, that they wouldn't have to, and it is harming their business.
Well, Brenda, it's good to hear from you about this campaign. Thank you for joining me in studio.
Thank you for having me.
Brenda Jordison runs a Facebook page called Foundation Organics Deserves Kitchen Scraps. It's 20 minutes after 8. This is CBC Radio 1 on the island.